All right.
switching to.
All right.
So what the hell are we talking about?
Uh, the Ohio River. So pretty much, you know, these contaminants are moving down the Ohio River, and it's going to affect a lot of people.
It's not just going down the Ohio River; it's going to the Great Lakes. But the Great Lakes have already been contaminated
Well,
through all the the
how is it
paper
going to
mills
go to
and
the
shit.
Great Lakes if it's going down?
Well,
Geographically, it looks like it's going down, like it in like
geographically
West
it does, but
Virginia.
geographically, rivers always flow down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But man-made pipes can take it up, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but
It's hypothetical wise,
they're
but it
already
makes more
talking
sense.
upwards of 5 million people are going to be affected by this contaminant.
Okay, who says that? The government?
Well, there's a lot of citizen journalists that are saying that.
Right, but that's just it though. Like anything the government says, times it by 3. Okay, so like
15 million?
15 billion.
15 million.
Yeah, whatever. Times it by 3. It's
There's
the
not
government.
15 billion in the US.
When the fuck is the government ever right about anything? Never. That's why it's the government. That's why you're not supposed to trust it because it's always wrong, right? So when the government says it shot down 4 UFOs or UAPs, times that by 3. It probably shot down 12 of them. You just only found out about fucking 3 of them.
I think it shot down a baker's dozen.
It shot down a shit ton of them. And they're getting more frequent. And then all throughout UFOs and aliens always been um, more concentrated towards war
Mm-hmm.
because just like any natural animal, it observes, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's prey or
Bob Lazar,
defeat it better, right?
if you're out there and you're listening, we would like to talk to you.
Yeah. Well, Bob Lazar even said that some of those vehicles were um, old as shit, archaeological, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those UFOs are in Antarctica and ice shelves and stuff like that, right? Um, they've been around us for all throughout history,
All right,
but the
we don't have to
problem
talk.
is,
We don't have to. If we can't get Bob Lazar, we'll get Harrison Ford.
fuck
Harrison
that. Get
Ford,
Richard
if you're
Dreyfuss
watching
with
this, please talk
Close
to us.
Encounters of the Third Kind. I want Richard Dreyfuss. No, I mean, I, you know who Tom DeLonge is from Blink 182? We all know.
Oh yeah.
Work sucks. I know.
Mm-hmm. She left
He,
me roses by the stairs, surprises them and she cares.
yeah, well, she didn't care. Aliens care now.
Oh.
So he's head of it, and essentially what he is he's an intermediary between the government and the populace to create a pathway so the average American can accept alien intelligence. Does that
So
make sense?
he knows that there's alien intelligence.
Yes, it's no different than how
Why
the
did they
government,
choose him for this?
the same way that they introduce cocaine into the populace, they use it through celebrities, pop stars, um,
Mm.
because they have better influence than a government would, right?
Mm. So
So
you're
if the
telling me if
government,
LeBron James was snorting a line off of his Air Force Ones, I
you
would be
want to do
convinced to want to do it?
it, you want some Air Force Ones. That's
Mm.
exactly right. It's all about influence. That's how it's always has been. Like if you can influence the rock stars to accept it, the celebrities to accept it, the general populace as a whole will accept it because they're a concentrated channel of information.
Have you seen the video of the young lady that was puking on Lady Gaga's chest during one of her shows?
No.
Green puke.
Probably a reptilian.
That's what they're saying about Kamala Harris at the State of the Union address when she was
Well,
like,
that's just it. You know,
just
for,
sitting there, like her neck would get like all crinkly.
yeah, I mean that you could say that about
I
Prince
think she's
Harry
just
and
old.
Meghan
She's just
Markle and shit
old.
like that.
She just needs like a neck lift or something.
But as I said before in
All
the
right.
previous podcast, we're going into something called the fourth turning, where in order to control the crisis, you have to create the next crisis. Right.
Mm,
This is why it's kind of like a snowball picking up speed.
yes.
It just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's kind of like what's next? It
More
just keeps
snow.
yeah, more snow picking up or anything
More
like that.
speed.
Anybody who's ever been in a tornado says it sounds like a train, right?
Mm.
And that's just it. But the minute that the tornado gets so close, guess what happens? Gets
You're,
quiet.
does it?
Yeah, that's why you're supposed to open up your windows to decompress your house and stuff like that. Like
Oh.
when they show tornadoes blowing up houses, they show them with the windows closed and shit like that. That's why if a tornado is supposed to in your area, you're supposed to open up the windows to decompress the house.
Is that so my ears don't pop?
Mm-hmm. That's why you're supposed to chew
Mm.
gum.
Mm.
But that's the point that I'm trying to say is like we're in that stage right now where it's kind of like they kind of call it a twilight zone or
Yes.
a twilight zone, or if you want to call it a the awakening, where the system can no longer maintain the lies.
Mm-hmm.
The system can no longer maintain the information because there's just so much of it coming at one time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even though that they have and own and control everything, information now is so uh, everywhere that they can't control it. So it just gets out no matter what. So
Yes.
it's kind of like you're ex-military. The best way to control a narrative is to get in front of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you can get in front of the information, you can kind of control it. But at the same time, eventually, if it's a lie, you can only control it to a certain point.
Well, if it's a lie, you can keep lying to
A
the point
certain
where you
point.
where you actually start believing it.
Yeah, exactly right. And they call it sociopaths, but the lie can only go so long until eventually it breaks apart
Mm-hmm.
because people start poking holes in it. And with this amount of information nowadays, it's kind of like the equivalent of what was his name? Galileo. Was he the one who said that the sun is or the earth is the center of the universe or sun is the center of the universe? Was that
Uh,
Galileo?
I think that was you.
Okay, good. Even better. But no, it's kind of like that same thing where Galileo was the smartest person at the time, and he said that the sun is the center of the universe, and the church, who was the all-powerful church, who controlled everything.
They said, "No, you're wrong, Galileo. Suck it.
Exactly right. You're wrong. We're in charge.
Now
How
pay
dare you?
us.
You're a heretic.
Now pay us."
Yeah, the Earth is the center of the universe because we control the Earth. Right? It's an egotistical sense of hubris.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, what happened to Galileo? They exiled him.
Mm.
They imprisoned him
Yes.
until the rest of his life, if I recall history.
Mm.
So it wasn't until he died and years later that they finally found out that the center of the universe was actually the sun, not the earth. It's whoever controls the information at that time or the hierarchy that
How
controls.
did Galileo figure that out?
Um, I don't know. I think he just ate a lot of euros.
He could have been on shrooms,
He could have been.
hallucinogenics. Do you think hallucinogenics made people like philosophers and stuff back then? Do you think that hallucinogenics gave them more of a
Channel.
channel, deeper insight into things that made them separate themselves from others of their time?
Yes. I would call it more of like a, not necessarily a bridge. The bridge is always there, but like who's hallucinogenics kind of creates the car to travel over the bridge. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Yeah.
Where you need a vehicle that's made specifically to cross a bridge. Like if you have a small bridge and you have a big truck, you can't cross it.
Mm-hmm. Because like right now, you and me, we're like on one side, and we can't cross over that bridge unless we have, a substance like that to get us across, right? Is that
Well, I
what you're
think
saying?
but like any type of vehicle, there's alternative vehicles to get across a plot of obstacle. Okay, so like if there's a waterway, you can get away or get across this water by a couple of means of ways. You can either create a bridge and walk across the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a boat across it. Otherwise, you can actually take an airplane across it, right? There's different forms of travel. And just like a lot of different things, you can find alternative channels to unlock this.
Mm.
So, like DMT and different psychedelic drugs. Microdosing has become very, very big nowadays, where microdosing mushrooms to a point where I think Congress is even looking into it.
Mm. That
But
would be
the
interesting, especially in the veteran community.
exactly right, because they've actually found scientific proof that microdosing helps with post-traumatic stress and depression.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was if you microdose for something like a month, you can alleviate years and years of post-traumatic stress.
Wow.
But at the same time, the pharmaceutical companies don't want you to have that.
Because they would be losing money.
Exactly right.
Because
So whole
they,
entire system, it's pretty simple basis. The whole entire system is predicated on two things: fear and profit. Fear of not having enough profit and having a lot of profit, and fear of losing that profit, right?
mm-hmm.
So it's similar, just like the government. Like
Bill Gates
it
doesn't have that
has,
fear.
no, he's worried about climate change, but he takes private jets. But he
And he
says it's
said that,
okay
yeah,
because,
it's okay because he's the leader of the movement.
right, it's a
And
false
his word's more
ideology.
important than yours or mine.
Right.
I mean,
It's
yeah,
a,
yeah, he's probably right. I mean, we only get like two or three views a video, but I mean,
right, but
better
at the
than
same
nothing.
time, like, this
There's
is how
people
the
out there
elites
that we're
think.
touching, not not physically, but
This is how elites think, though.
spiritually.
Elites truly believe that they are the cure to the cancer,
Yeah, they
but
think
they
they're the
cause the
cat's
cancer,
ass.
right? Huh?
They think that they're the cat's ass.
No, I think they think they're the cat, and they're also like PetSmart. Like they own the fucking like PetSmart, where if you're a cat and you just want to go get like a toy and
Yeah.
shit, yeah, here's a toy. You just gotta
Or
pay for it.
they're like the little like golden doodle that's in the store and just shits on the floor and says, "Yeah, clean that up."
Hmm.
Ruff, ruff, clean that up, bitch.
But no, like in an ideological sense, like Bill Gates, in his mind, he's actually believes he's trying to do right because if you live in that kind of atmosphere at a very young age, I think he became a billionaire at like 25
Mm-hmm.
in that kind of money terms. But you have this all throughout society and shit like that, all throughout history. This all happens in fiat currencies. At the grounds of all of these crazy things and shit that doesn't make sense, and even the average person is starting to realize that something is wrong. They still can't pinpoint what is wrong. But at the center of it all is the currency. the politicians create the very currency that you need, which is why you need more of it,
No, we
which is
don't.
why they need
No.
more of it. And the more that you need them, the more power they have.
The more currency they keep handing out to us, the more we're just going to be poor. We're just going to be worse off.
Right. But it's like a drug addict and finally admitting that, hey, I don't need that and turning the other way, but like they keep giving you a better deal, better deal, better deal.
Yeah,
So
it
you're gonna
sounds
keep
good. It
taking it.
sounds tempting and great at the time, but
Right.
in the long run, not good. It's
Right.
not a good outcome.
But eventually, like it's one of those things where this is why I said before, you're kind of seeing crisis after crisis after crisis, is because when you create the crisis, you can kind of control the narrative of it.
Mm-hmm.
9/11 was a perfect example, right? We were attacked. How
The
dare you
Patriot
question?
Act.
Yeah, how dare you question it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you question it, you're questioning authority. If you question authority, you're un-American, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with COVID. And the thing with COVID that I've noticed and stuff like that is that nurses are the new soldiers, right? In
Oh.
10 years, they'll start to realize that they could give two shits about me. They lied to me. It was all about profit. It was all about the pharmaceutical companies getting bailouts and shit like that. But it just takes time. They just don't want to admit that they were duped, right?
What do you say to your friends that are nurses?
Well, I tell them exactly what I've always said to them. The virus is real. The excuses aren't. If
Hmm.
you would like to actually understand what is truly going on, I'm more than willing to explain it to you, but are you willing to accept what I explained to you as
So you
being
say
real
like
or
and
not being
subscribe
real?
to the page.
Hmm?
You should say like and subscribe to the page.
I tell them that, but they just say I'm but batshit crazy. But at the same time, like I'm like, where's your podcast at?
You tell a bunch of people you got a podcast, dog?
Yeah, I tell them all the fucking time.
Nice.
I don't give a shit. What do I got to lose?
What do they say when they find out that I'm doing it with you? Oh, great. Here we go.
Oh, great. Here we go, right winger. I said, don't worry. I said, we're all American. We're all on the same fucking
Yeah,
Titanic.
we're all Americans here.
Right. I tell a lot of people, I said, oh, so you think just by switching captains of Titanic makes it that you're not on a Titanic, huh?
Mm-hmm.
What's that supposed to mean? Think about it. But they don't want to think. Nobody wants to think. That's
No,
why they rely on news to think for them. That's why it's called tell you a vision.
it's called living in autopilot.
Right. People don't want to think. And a lot of people have no ability to critical think because psychologically, people want people in authority to tell them what to think. That way, it absolves them of any sort of accountability.
And they have
Right.
confidence in that person because
Exactly right. Because
they see the
you're the
credibility that that
specialist in
person
it.
has. Yeah.
Right. You're the specialist in it. Why would you lie to
Yeah,
me?
exactly. You're the doctor here.
Mhm.
Why would you want to kill me? It's
That's why they say
you
trust the
made an oath
science.
to save me.
Right. That's why they say trust the science. I mean, I'll give you a little example, but not to call out one of our good friends, Josh, and shit like that. But at the same time, like, dude, I swear to God, this really happened. When everything was locked down in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
I was craving some goddamn barbecue and shit like that. Me and my guy Josh, we always go to this barbecue place right up the road. Best fucking barbecue. But everything was shut down, so they're only doing carry out. I said, all right, I'll go pick up some carry out. I haven't seen you in a minute and shit like that. We'll have some barbecue and just sit and chit chat. This is even before any fucking vaccines were coming out.
Mm-hmm.
He was still with his ex girlfriend and shit like that. They came back from LA or whatnot, having dinner with him and stuff like that. And me being the conspiracy theorist that I am, I said, oh, you think it's bad now? Just fucking wait. And like, you and me both know our boy Josh. Always optimistic kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck that, you know. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And I said to him, okay, I'm going to give you a scenario exactly what's going to happen. Now you can either accept it or deny it, but when it finally does happen, you remember this motherfucking face, right? Right here.
Yeah.
The guy that got you barbecue.
Hmm.
And I told him, you will literally be at the grocery store. I'm not worried about the virus. I'm worried about the solution to the virus. That's what I told him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Create problem solved. Well, who's solving the problem? The government. Okay, yeah, I'm going to believe that shit, right? And this always happens throughout history, right? Create problem, cause and effect kind of thing. Action, reaction. And I literally told him, you will literally be at the grocery store and all of a sudden motherfuckers will start dropping over dead. Doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter if they're fat or skinny, doesn't matter. They're just going to start dropping over. And it might be one person. Everybody will flock to him thinking it's a random thing. It's not random. Guess what? What is it? 3 years later, now all these athletes are dropping over and shit. Athletes are dropping over.
Mm-hmm.
Athletes that are literally their whole entire job is to condition themselves for endurance, and they can't endure.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
No.
So that's just it. Telling somebody, this is all the way back in 2020. I'm not worried about the fucking virus. I'm worried about the solution to the virus and who's coming up with the solution to the virus. Like I said, I pay attention to the financial markets. Every single scam needs to get funded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it always comes down to every war needs to be funded, every scam needs to be funded. Everybody has their hand in the cookie jar. It's just when the cookie jar gets finally revealed, who's got their hand in the cookie jar. Hold them accountable, right? That's exactly what happened to our friend Josh and shit like that. Josh, this ain't bad right now. You think it's bad right now? Just fucking wait. You'll be at the grocery store. Motherfuckers will start to be keeling over and shit. And you'll be there sitting eating your goddamn whole wheat toast and shit.
Oh man, you're gonna have to edit this part out, dog. We're gonna get censored again.
Well, that's why it's two episodes. But you can even ask him. I was sitting there telling him, I'm like, dude, you'll be at the grocery store and people start keeling the fuck over. Not because of the virus, but because of the cure of the virus, right? That's why even during that shit, you were saying like even Trump supporters, the cure can't be worse than the problem, right? That's what everybody's saying. You're
Yeah.
making the cure worse than the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely correct. It's only until after about 3 or 4 fucking years through it spread its way through the whole entire system of people. Now all of a sudden they try to justify it.
Well, there's people out there that were on Team Warp Speed, and now they're beginning to see that that was a bad idea.
Right. But that's just it. Like, when I had all my liberal friends and shit like that, and they're like, oh, Dylan, you going to get the vaccine? You going to get the vaccine? I said, look, I'm going to get the vaccine when all the old people get it first. I don't want to pay Social Security for them fuckers.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, dude.
Old balls, gross. But no, I was just telling all my buddies and shit like that, all my liberal friends, because we all got liberal friends and shit, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I can't wait till that vaccine comes out and shit. I'm like, uh-huh. So wait, let me get this straight. You're relying on the very same government that said asbestos was okay. So safe, in fact. And I'd like to remind all of our followers, asbestos was so safe that they put it in schools and hospitals first. Same fucking government. So wait, you're mean to tell me that this shit is so safe that you're willing to line up front row to get it? No, I'm gonna treat this just like I treat every single goddamn gaming console that comes out. I'm gonna wait a year until the glitches get work
Mm-hmm.
work their way out.
I'm gonna wait till it comes down in price.
Right. Yeah, I'll wait till the holiday. Yeah. I'll wait till
I'm
I'm gonna
gonna
wait till
wait till
Cyber Monday and shit for that
I'm gonna
vape.
wait till the next one comes out, and then the last model's a half off.
Yeah. So why don't I just buy the last year's model? Well, it's not new. Well, maybe I don't like new. Well, you're part of the problem. Get in the now. And me seeing this like psychologically over the year, a couple of years, is like this shit always happens throughout history.
Yep.
Create a fucking problem, the government comes to the rescue, and you have the people acting like it's Noah's Ark and shit. Let me in, let me in, let me in. And it's kind of one of those things where I'm just kind of like, well, why didn't you just build your own fucking boat? There's a bunch. We're in a forest,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So like I told my one buddy Josh, because he's always saying like I'm a pessimist and shit. I am, because I always think negatively. Like it's not that I think negatively. I'm really an optimist, but at the same time, I don't trust you
You're
motherfuckers.
more of like a prove it kind of
Exactly.
guy,
Oh,
and
you think I'm wrong?
there's
Prove
nothing
it.
wrong with that.
No. And if you
That
can't prove
I
it,
don't.
then clearly I'm right.
I think that's the importance of your free will is that
Yeah. It's called
people
critical
should
thinking.
organizations and people need to earn your trust, not just take their word for it.
Yeah. Well,
You
I
could
always
take a
say
good look at a T-bone steak by sticking your head up a bull's ass, but I'd rather take the butcher's word for it. No, we don't want to
exactly
do that
right.
anymore.
Right.
We're not doing that no more. We're gonna stick
Exactly
our head
right.
up a bull's ass.
Yeah. And who's the bull? Government. Full of bullshit. And
Hmm.
that's just it. And you have a lot of people where they're so misdirected nowadays. They're just going to retaliate against anybody who objectifies them. Now, me being the type of person that I am, I like that kind of shit because I'm just like, you're a bunch of fucking idiots. Just wipe yourself out, kind of shit. You know, it's kind of like, you ever see that Spider-Man meme? Whereas the three
Yeah,
Spider-Mans are all pointing.
yeah.
That's what it's like. And I'm on the outside of it, just being like, what are you pointing at? You're pointing at you.
I don't think it's
Yep.
just so much the fact that people are idiots. I just think that it's,
Oh, we've gone full
well,
retard.
there's the people that just they don't want the drama.
I think they just don't want to accept the fact that an alternative fact could actually be fact,
Hmm.
right? Because it's all about perception. I mean, think of how the Germans were brainwashed into thinking that an Austrian Jew was really a German.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's a mass psyop through media, peer pressure, peer pressure by your friends, your family, and stuff like that. I mean, one of the very first things that Hitler did was he went into the banks, and if he was trying to eradicate the Jews, he knew going into the banks, all banks have a catalog of all the deposits, all the addresses, right? It's centrifugal pressure point.
Hmm.
And the banks throughout every single catastrophe have always been the pressure point of every crisis, all throughout history. The central banks and shit like that. That's why Hitler, one of the very first things did, he went to the German banks, and he went to the German, um, I forget what he called the head of the bank and stuff like that, the manager or whatnot. But he went into the German banks who are owned by Jews.
The
And
branch manager.
yep, branch manager. Thank you very much. He went into all of the German banks because a lot of them at that time were owned by Jews.
Hmm.
And he went in there and he said, you could either play ball and rat out your friends and you survive, or you die and I still find your friends. And this is where, all throughout history, humans always kind of like justify their actions. This is why, like, during World War II, you had Jews, elite Jews, I'll put it that way. Elite Jews turned on the poor Jews,
Hmm.
Warsaw and stuff like that, the ghettos and stuff like that, the
George
Jewish ghettos.
Soros.
Yeah, the Hungarian Jews and stuff like that. He was a prime example of it. where you have the elite Jews who justify their actions as being, well, it was war, right? It's better to be at the side of the devil than in his path, right? Does that kind of make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Mm-hmm.
And during World War II, Jewish people like that were no different than any other civilization. The primary conquering people that are coming to conquer, the people can either help them conquer it faster, otherwise they can resist. It's always happened all throughout
Mm-hmm.
history. Any sort of empire and stuff like that, that's always happened. And you had a lot of Jewish bankers and stuff like that that made a lot of money off of poor Jews and stuff like that. And it's happening right now too, still. Not necessarily Jewish people or anything like that. Jewish people are great people. But I'm just saying a tribalism
Mm-hmm.
where you have different ethnicities that have become so polarized. It's kind of like the Salem witch trials, where my neighbor I hate, but if I can just prove that you're against the resistance or whatnot, against the state, I can take over your land.
Mm-hmm.
That's why everybody's so cutthroat with one another. That's why everybody is so resistant to everything right now. Don't tell me what to do, you know. I mean, I watch videos on TikTok of Karens all the time and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
Why are you mowing my neighbor's lawn? Well, he asked me to. I don't know you. Who the fuck cares about what you
Mm-hmm.
who you know or your neighbor literally asked me. He's out of town. I'm spending the gas to help out my friend to mow his lawn. Who are you? Oh, I'm his neighbor. Okay, that don't mean shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Turn the fuck around and
Yeah.
mind your damn business.
This is why you see the system starting to fall apart, right?
Did
Because
you hear
nobody,
glass shatter? No, you didn't.
right. This is why I've said for the last couple of years is why the system is failing, is because this always happens throughout history where the media tries to pit everybody against one another, races against one another. But if everybody could just realize that it's not everybody versus everybody, it's everybody versus the top,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the top control everything, like a
It's the
pyramid.
big it's the big club and
Hmm.
you ain't
And
in
you
it.
ain't invited, right? George
Mm-hmm.
Carlin figured this shit out
Yep.
years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
you have concentration after concentration of corporation after corporation. Like, I forget the interview he was in, George Carlin, where he said, like, you used to have 10 oil companies, now you have five. You
Mm-hmm.
used to have six banks, investment banks, now you got three, and they're super banks. They just keep gobbling it up. The government keeps bailing them out. It's called crony capitalism. But socialism without capitalism becomes communism,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there always has to be a trade off. But eventually it tips into one side and then you have a full blown fucking chaos,
Yep.
right? And that's where we're at right now. We're like, it's completely tipped over. It doesn't matter if it was Trump or Biden, it was going to happen no matter what. 2008 is when we hit the iceberg. You should have fixed it, but you didn't. Instead, you just told everybody that was just a propeller turning on. Get back to
Yeah.
work, right? And that's why everybody is having such a bad reaction to it because the longer you try to kick a problem down the road, the more it manifests.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that it manifests, aka like Ohio and shit like that, they weren't they were hollowing out that company for years. They didn't want to pay their workers. I read an article where before the catastrophe, the maintenance guys who check the train
Tracks.
compartments,
Oh, okay.
yeah, the train compartments,
Yeah, yeah.
they used to spend 3 minutes per compartment checking the wheel
Oh,
bearings and stuff like
yes.
that.
Now it's down to 90 seconds.
Yep, exactly right. 90 seconds now.
Mm-hmm.
Because guess what?
It saves them money.
Yep. And this is where you get essentially where they call it capitalism, but it's really just fascism, industrial
Mm-hmm.
fascism, completely destroying the motherland for profit to a point where the motherland can only no longer operate, to a point where like everybody's in despair, and now you have a catastrophic event. Well, if everybody is poor, similar to how the Germans were after World War One, what are they going to do? They're always going to retaliate by voting somebody not part of that system, or what they perceive not a part of that system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, when Donald Trump was running, I said, "Yeah, I'm all down for it. I'm an anarchist." I'm like, "Yeah, Trump will fuck up, fuck up some shit," and he did it brilliantly, on my point of view. Okay, because I knew he's part of a system. You can't rely on a crook to fix a crooked system. You can only expect him to make it worse, right? And that's exactly what he did, you know. And when I hear Trump supporters and shit like that, I said, "Yeah, I'm all for Trump and stuff like." I think he's fucking hilarious. Biggest troll in the world. I loved him and shit on Twitter and stuff. Hilarious. But can you name one Democrat that went to jail this whole entire 4 years? No, you
Mm,
can't. Right. So I said, so he's just part of the
yeah, you
system.
can actually at that what the hell, that lawyer that for damn it, what the
His
hell's her
buddy?
name? No, that porn star. What the hell's the name of that porn star?
Oh, Stormy Daniels?
Stormy Daniels' lawyer went to jail.
Yeah, on her shit. But that's what I mean. Like, when I hear people talk about this kind of shit, like, oh, he's gonna send the deep state under and shit like that. No, once you're in the system, you're locked in, because the system controls everything.
Mhm.
Right? Controls your family, controls your bank accounts. You're locked in. So if you want to know what the solution is, simple. You want to know what it is?
Resist.
No, encourage the destruction, because when everything is in chaos, it's fair. That's just it. Embrace chaos. How many people that are listening have been so fucking fed up with crap? The minute they actually lash out, they feel like there's a weight off their shoulder, right? How many
Mhm.
people have been in a relationship where they're just so sick and fucking tired of being fed up with their crap? The minute they actually yell at that person and take their frustration out on them, they actually feel a little bit better, but at the same time, it's a guilt, right? I feel
Mhm.
bad for doing that, but it felt good. That's what I mean. Congratulations, everybody. Now you're an anarchist.
That's how I feel when I grab a Twinkie when it's late at night.
Yeah, that's how I feel when I drink a fucking drink it. You know, Dylan, you drink a lot. No, I don't think you drink enough. Right?
Yeah.
And that's how I perceive shit. And it hasn't failed me yet. But at the same time, like, to our listeners and stuff like that, you're free to do what you want. You can either listen to this guy or you can listen to this guy. Which
Either
one?
way, the end result is going to be
Right. They both look like
this.
the same.
It's going to
Right.
be this.
It's gonna be
It's
that.
going to be that.
But anyways, I think we touched up on a lot of things,
Yeah,
UFOs and stuff
I
like that.
think next time we should talk about that ICE agent back in 2016 that you were talking about that
Oh
killed
yeah.
himself.
Mm-hmm.
We can touch into that next time. We could probably start off with that next time.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty important because
most definitely.
a lot of what you told me that he said in his note
Mm-hmm.
has actually come to fruition today.
Right, because it I'll leave it off with this. It's something called the Cantillon effect, where those people who are closest to the information, inside information,
Can only take so much.
right, before it spreads out. And then it's kind of like great grandma's recipe.
Hmm.
If you don't follow the recipe, it eventually becomes
It
your own
ain't gonna
recipe.
be good.
Yeah, if it's eventually going to be your own recipe. But yeah, we'll start that off on the next episode and stuff like that.
Yep.
But
Uh,
if you guys want to catch up on us on Twitter, it's truth underscore over facts.
Yeah, truth underscore over facts.
Mm-hmm. At
And
Twitter.
then if you want to get a hold of us, reach out. I have a question that maybe you might want answered. You can reach us at our email. That's
Truth over
truth over
facts
facts
podcast at
at
gmail.com.
gmail.com. And to the people in Ohio, South Carolina, and Texas, and now Arizona,
Get the
we're
fuck out, grab your
yeah,
shit, and get a gun.
our thoughts and prayers are with you, and
Yeah.
all those that are going to experience a contaminated water supply. We
Not just at the fresh lakes.
yeah,
Get away from the fresh lakes because
well,
now the main fresh lakes are contaminated. And I hate to break it to a lot of people, but like the way that the wind works, it goes from uh northwest to southeast.
so we're screwed, Dylan.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. Well, that's it, everybody. Until next time, we will talk to you then. And yeah, have a great night and keep freedom on your mind.
Yeah. God save the queen. No, fuck her.